Welcome to the Extreme Underground, the show where I take a look at some of the most disturbing and controversial films in the world of cinema. Today I'll be reviewing the French film High Tension. Directed by Alexandre Aja, starring Cécile de France, May Wen, and Philippe Nahon, High Tension is a film about Alex and Marie, who are college students, and they're going to Alex's parents' farmhouse for the weekend so they can study. In the middle of the night, a stranger knocks on the door, and this girl's weekend turns into an endless night of terror. Before we get into the likes, I do want to let you know that I'll be talking about a big twist that happens in this movie, and it completely ruins it if you have not seen the movie yet, as I consider High Tension a must-see film for horror fans and extreme fans alike. If you haven't seen many extreme films, then this is a nice segue for the casual horror fans to kind of get a taste for the new French extremity, which includes stuff like Inside, Martyrs, and Frontiers. So if you haven't seen it, please leave, go watch it, and join me back here so you can hear my thoughts. As the title suggests, this movie has a great way of building tension. We have our two main characters, Marie and Alex, and they're simply best friends who just want to hang out together. Unfortunately, this stranger isn't looking for help, and you don't know his motives. Once the stranger enters the house, it's a cat and mouse home invasion style of film that puts the audience into the mind of Marie as she tries to figure out how she can move around the house without getting caught by the stranger, but also trying to find and save Alex. The way that these characters are developed, it makes the audience really feel for the situations that they're in, as you try and figure out how you would cope with the loss of a family member while being in the line of direct danger yourself. While watching this film, it's important that you watch the unrated version and not the theatrical cut, as Alexandre Aja's love for gore and blood shines in the unrated version with lots of brutal and innovative kills. The cinematography is top-notch in this film, using interesting camera angles and shooting in confined spaces to make you feel a little claustrophobic and to make sure that the audience does not quite know where the stranger is in relation to the camera. Because this film relies heavily on the atmosphere and the tension that it's building, the camera plays tricks on the audience to suggest that the character is in one location when they're actually in another. So as a stranger approaches somewhere where you believe that the main character is, your heart is racing as you feel for the character and you think they're about to get caught, when in fact, they aren't there at all and they're in another room. So the cinematography contributes to this along with a grungy score. While I did enjoy most of the tension throughout the film, I did find that some scenes were a little bit slower than necessary to deliver that thrill. There's probably 5 scenes in this film that I think overstayed their welcome and could have been cut down to a couple minutes shorter than what was actually left on screen. Because of this extra runtime, even despite it being a 90-minute movie, it seemed a little long. And it gets tiresome, but it's still a really enjoyable watch. So I'm kind of up in the air about this, but it's worth stating because a cat and mouse style film needs to continuously have you involved, because if you ever fall off and you lose sight of what's really happening around everybody, then you're not going to be interested in the movie anymore. Now I'd like to talk about the twist. This wasn't in my likes, and it wasn't in my dislikes, because I have mixed feelings about this whole situation. A lot of people love it, a lot of people hate it, and I just want to talk about it a little bit. At the end of the film, it's revealed that Marie is actually the stranger all along, and she's the one who ended up killing Alex's family and taking Alex hostage because she wanted her all to herself. Now, while initially this is a great twist, it's worked successfully in many other films, and some of my top films, this has been the big twist at the end. However, if you think back to the movie that you just watched, you start to see all these different plot holes on how this could not have been Marie the whole time. And this is what's so controversial about this twist, because a lot of people dislike the amount of plot holes that are now thrown in front of the audience, like, hey, here's a cop-out ending, we just wanted to have a twist. But then there's the flip side of the coin, and I don't know where I land on this. Now, if you think back to the beginning of the film, you'll remember that there was somebody in a mental institution. And at the end, we obviously now know that this is Marie, and she is simply retelling the events that happened that night, the way that somebody who's mentally unstable or maybe has multiple personalities may retell a story, because they genuinely believe that they didn't do anything wrong because they would have not had any recollection of the events that happened. So having those few extra scenes in the beginning of the film is a way to kind of do some damage control on patching up the plot holes, because if these are the thoughts of an unstable woman, then anything can happen, and anything was her reality. Now, I didn't love this twist, but I also didn't hate it. Schizophrenia and multiple personality disorders are definitely common themes when it comes to horror films and thrillers with big twists at the end. So I wish they just didn't show the asylum stuff at the beginning, because then you wouldn't have people trying to guess the twist throughout the film. Overall, I really enjoyed High Tension. I love the atmosphere that they built, I love the characters, and of course, I love the brutal deaths throughout the film because they hold so much weight for the well-developed characters that we had. This film had an interesting pace to it, and I wasn't completely thrown off by it. However, there are definitely scenes that could have been cut shorter. Now, while I love a good twist in a film, I'm not sure that I really love the twist in this film, or the way that it was delivered, only because it created so many different plot holes. So I'm gonna give this 4 concrete cutters out of 5. As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it, but I definitely want to hear your thoughts on the twist. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it just neutral? Do you think they covered up their plot holes well enough by saying it was the retelling of a mentally unstable woman? Or do you think it was just a rush ending? Let me know in the comments, and if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.